Greetings and salutations, my friends, and welcome to a new video. I realized not so long ago that it's been a hot second since I filmed some 5-star predictions. Some books that I already own that I think are going to be 5 stars, that I think are going to become ultimate favorites for me. They may or may not end up being 5 stars, but at least the initial feeling I get when I look at the book is, I could really love you. And since I recently did the whole this video doesn't end before I find a 5-star book video, I thought what better way to follow that up than talk about some 5-star predictions for me. Maybe in a few months time once I've read all of these, because I really do think these are going to be read somewhat immediately because I've been eyeing these for recent TBRs. I think that we can make a little checkup in a few months, see if these were actually 5 stars, what happened with them, will I maybe end up DNFing some of these, who knows. So I have got 10 different books today ranging from all different sorts of genres. We have got non-fiction slash memoir to literary fiction to fantasy to romance to a whole lot of different moods and vibes, and so let's get into the list. I think it's a really good one. I am confident that at least, which I cannot say for past 5-star predictions, I can confidently say that I think at least 60% of these will be 5 stars. I am not a math expert, hence why we're here and I've got this job, but maybe sounds kind of right. And I am going to start out with something that is both bold and out there because I've actually never read from this author before. So I don't know whether or not this is going to be a 5-star. I have got no basis to stand on because I have got no previous experience with her prose, with her writing, with her story structure, or anything. And that is Lana Ferguson's The Fake Maid. I feel like I am riding out the high of Bride by Ali Hazelwood, and I really want to find other traditionally published books that have got kind of similar vibes. And I'm always saying that the market is like really scarce when it comes to Omegaverse, paranormal romances that are actually good. I've heard really great things about The Fake Maid. I got this recently. I really am eyeing this out for my May TBR. I'm just like feeling out the vibes and I think it's going to end up there because I have heard that this is much more Omegaverse than Bride, because with Bride it's like a whole different setup, and while I do think there are elements that may be somewhat akin to Omegaverse, it's not Omegaverse, and so I think this could be quite fun. And in this one we follow Mackenzie and Noah, who both work at the same hospital. They are both doctors, and while he focuses on all things interventional cardiology, she is an ER doctor and she is constantly being pestered by her grandma. Oh my god, when are you gonna find your maid? When are you gonna date seriously? When are you gonna settle down? And after many a failed date and very, very little success rates when it comes to her relationships, she basically wants to get her grandma off her butt when it comes to this specific theme. And so in a conversation that they're having, she slips up and she tells her that Noah, the interventional cardiologist, is basically the person she is seeing right now. And when she approaches him with a whole fake dating scenario to at least convince her grandma of this union, he feels very thrown off because he was having a very important meeting that day, and he also feels like it is a terrible decision. However, things line up in a way that obviously makes it feel more mutually beneficial, and they strike up this alliance whilst blurring all lines that they had initially agreed on, and things go from there. I think the notion of this sounds very fun. We have got wolves, we have got the Omegaverse, we have got actual like professionals, like they're both doctors, they work in the same hospital. It's like Grey's Anatomy but make it Omegaverse and wolves. And low-key, it sounds really, really fun. I'm hoping this will be a 5-star because it is truly a recipe of success for me based on the things that I already know I really, really enjoy. Another really bold choice. I say this specifically because I have DNF'd this author's other really, really big book. I don't know if Erin Morgenstern only has 2 books out or if people just really, really talk about The Starless Sea and The Night Circus, but I believe it's only those 2 books out. And I DNF'd The Starless Sea a few years ago. It's not like a hard DNF. I definitely still own it, would like to pick it back up one day and maybe see if I am more in the mood for the super whimsy purple prose. And I know that from The Night Circus to The Starless Sea, both books are very different. And so although I DNF The Starless Sea, I do think I stand the chance of giving The Night Circus a 5-star. When I see people talk about their favorite fantasy books, I feel like this is always a book that makes an appearance in everybody's videos, much more so than The Starless Sea, even though I still do know that it's a fan favorite. And so because I have tried books similar to this where the dynamic sounds really, really good to me, and yet when I enter the book I end up being disappointed, I'm hoping that the story itself that kind of catapulted this mysterious disappearing circus will do the trick for me. The whole premise for this specific story is that there is a circus that is there today that was not there yesterday, and a competition is underway in said circus. And our two main characters, Celia and Marco, are the two strongest and initial competitors, I believe, of this competition. They have been training for it for years and years, and they are both vying for the same prize. However, things get a little complicated when these two end up falling in love. It brings forth a lot of consequences within the game. I will assume adding the rivalry to it will make it extra tense, and that is literally all I know about the Starless Sea. I know virtually nothing of it for, I think, like such a long book. I think this is like nearing 500 pages, is it not? Yeah, it's literally over 500 pages, so I know nothing of this. I think it's a feat in and of itself that I have never spoiled myself for the night circus. I don't know what happens in here. I don't know anything beyond like the base premise, and I really want to keep it that way because I think for the Starless Sea, I really kind of looked up reviews and I saw things and I looked up videos of people reading the Starless Sea to kind of hype myself up for it, and I think hearing so many people talk about it in such a high standard really made me have, I think, in ways, unfair expectations of the Starless Sea. And so I think I will learn from my mistakes. We'll go into this one a little bit more blind and see where things go. I would be deeply surprised if this book does not end up being a 5-star. I think not only will it be a 5-star, but it will absolutely reset my existence and make me sob my eyes out, and that is as long as the lemon trees grow. I've been putting this book off for such a long time because I just have a feeling that I am going to be absolutely shattered by the time that I end this book. I have heard nothing but amazing things about it, including how emotional this book is, just because of the circumstances surrounding our main character. The backdrop for the book is the Syrian Revolution, and we follow our main character Salama after she watches her brother marry the love of his life and wonder when exactly she is going to get her own love story. And unless you count this imaginary figure a hallucination that pops up into her life time and time again as a result of the tragedy she has seen throughout the revolution, she doesn't think she is going to get there. However, it all changes when Salama meets Kenan, who is not only willing to stay in Syria and risk his life for everything that Syria could potentially be, but who's also somebody she finds deeply attractive. I think a love story with that specific backdrop not only sounds absolutely gut-wrenching, but it sounds like a story that I'll probably never forget. And so I really love the premise of this. I am hoping it's a good one. Another one of those books that outside of the main premise and people's praises of it, I know absolutely nothing of. And I find that typically when I enter books knowing absolutely nothing about them or virtually nothing about them, I end up enjoying them a lot more than when I'm making up all of these ideas in my head of what it could be, what it will be, what it will do. Because those are all assumptions and maybe things that I would like to happen, but not necessarily the way that the author thought fitting to carry out the story. And so I think the facts that I know virtually nothing about all of these books that I'm going to talk about in this video is potentially a huge recipe for success. Dolly Alderton is an author I have never read from. I own 2 of her books and I really want to get her newest release, not only because the story sounds really cool, but the cover. I'll put it right here. The cover for the new book is absolutely stunning. I think it's called Good Material. This cover is striking to me. However, for a 5-star prediction, I am gonna go with Everything I Know About Love. This is a book that has resided in my TBR card for quite a few months now. I can't remember how long it's been sitting there. I think since January, probably, as a little backup, a book that I may pick up if I'm not feeling something else. And I have yet to pick it up, but I do think it's gonna be one of those books that I pick up rather soon. I also don't know much about this outside of the concept of the book talking about love, falling into lust, out of love, talking about modern womanhood, talking about female friendships, and how love can take shape in many different forms, not only in romantic relationships, but also how you interact with your family and how you interact with your friends, how you interact with yourself, and how love really emanates from the inside and how you can find it kind of everywhere else, yes, but the most important kind of love is the one that you have for yourself so that then that can radiate into everybody else. It's kind of what I've heard of the book, and I've heard that this is like one of those books that every woman in their early 20s like needs to read. I saw it do all the rounds after the Barbie movie came out and everybody was using the Barbie sound to this particular book and describing how much of a life-changing experience reading this book was for a lot of people. I want to experience that too, so I'm including it here. I am quite excited about this one, primarily because I actually haven't read a book from this author in a hot second. Back in the day, if you've been watching my channel for a while, then you'd know that I was obsessed. It's such a fantastic book, but I grew obsessed with Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas, and then I read Lost in the Neverwoods, which was the novel that came out after, which interestingly enough, he wrote before Cemetery Boys, but came out after, and I really did not love Lost in the Neverwoods. And so after that, I think I grew out of love or grew out of excitement for whatever was coming next. But I do own the Sunbearer trials, and I've heard more than enough good things about this to, I think, solidify the fact that I think Aiden Thomas can drive home another 5-star for me. And so I'm including it in this list because I think just based on the premise alone, it is a recipe for success, much like these other books we've been talking about. It is a Hunger Games meets Percy Jackson, two of my favorite things. I used to love those and love those still, and I really do trust Aiden Thomas to drive home some good commentary as to why exactly these games are happening, or even how the gods are involved into making these games happen, and exactly what purpose they serve in the grand scheme of the world. And we follow our main character Theo, the 17-year-old son of the goddess of birds, and he is pretty confident that as a Jade, he would never be chosen for this year's games, especially when his best friend Nia is actually going to participate, and he wants her to kind of have her moment. However, things take a little bit of a turn when the god Sol chooses not one Jade, but two, the 13-year-old child of the god of bad luck, and then Theo himself. And so they're thrust into this competition without even expecting it, and things go from there. Again, I have heard really, really amazing things about this. I absolutely loved the charm and all of the Latin inclusions in Cemetery Boys, in a topic that perhaps has always been observed through different lenses and never necessarily through that Latin lens. And so I'm really curious, excited, and really looking forward to see how he is going to include maybe cultural aspects into this novel, because if Cemetery Boys is anything to go by, I'm like, Aiden, I know he can do amazing things. And so I am very, very hopeful for this one. Another book that is pitched as something else meets something else, and one of those things is something that I absolutely loved about like 10 years ago. It's been a while, but I was absolutely obsessed with Shatter Me. And there's something about the angsty dynamic and trope of, ooh, our main character has got a power that if she touches people, they die. She's super dangerous, but then she finds the one person who can actually make this whole thing work. And so this book has been on my radar for quite a while. I even own the Fairloot edition of it, maybe a few hints, and I have yet to read it, and that is This Vicious Grace. I remember being so excited about this book as soon as I got it, because I knew that this was also something I could really, really love. I had heard creators that tend to be kind of reticent about fantasy really, really love this book, and that made me even more excited about reading it, because it seemed like the appeal was so far and wide that it was genuinely such a good book. And then it's just kind of been sitting on my shelves for like a really long time, and so I think it's mighty time to pick this up this year and see if it is a recipe for success for me. I've got our main character Alessa, whose powers under the right circumstances are meant to enhance a partner's magic. However, because she has not found the right partner yet, it seems that her touch just ends up killing everybody that she touches. In fact, everything is riding on her finding the right partner, because a swarm of demons is threatening her homeland, and unless she can figure out how exactly to stop them, they'll just devour everything in their wake. Things also seemingly take a turn for the worse when one of the local priests says that the only way to save their land is to kill Alessa, and her only hope boils down to hiring a killer, Dante, to protect her until she finds the right person to share her abilities with. There are allegedly twists and turns and betrayals and things that will affect the story down the line. I can't remember if this is a series, a standalone, a duology, a trilogy. I've got no idea, so I really need to look into this. I'm pretty sure it is a duology at the very least, and so I am thinking that I could really, really love this. It sounds like the type of YA that if done right, I could really vibe with, and so I'm hoping that that is the case, because as we know, YA fantasy of this kind, very hit or miss for me, but I'm hoping that first-time author maybe will surprise me, will do some nice things, and that I'll end up really, really liking this. Recently, I talked about how much I loved Into the Drowning Deep. I think sci-fi horror is definitely something that if I got more into, I could definitely vibe with, and so what better way to maybe follow Into the Drowning Deep than Our Wives Under the Sea? I have heard really great things about this book as well. I got this last year, and again, I've been eyeing it every once in a while. I'm like, maybe I'll include it in this one's TBR, maybe I won't. I'm a little bit intimidated, not going to lie. And the whole setup for this one kind of reminds me of Into the Drowning Deep, where the main character Leia, after going missing at a sea vessel expedition or a mission of some kind, comes back home, but a little bit altered. Her wife Meaty figures out that something is very clearly wrong with Leah's behavior, and she has got a counting clock till she can figure out exactly what happened in that sea vessel that basically Leah's brought back home with her before everything is too late and there is no turning back. Maybe something that can be deeply unsettling. We've got the sapphics in there, the horror, the sci-fi, the sea vessel, the sea quest, something maybe brought back home. It sounds really, really scary, but it's like the type of like slight horror that I think I can vibe with. Because listen, a girl gets freaked out really fast. But this, I feel like this is good. I have been looking forward to this book also for a really long time. I know that part of the magic system is based on tarot cards, which I absolutely love. I really want to see how the author goes about navigating that whole magic system and how exactly it works and how we're going to go about presenting the information. I think it could be quite a fun book. And I know that it also contains the element of the main character having to release an ancient mercurial spirit out into the world. And that is One Dark Window. I really am looking forward to this book. I feel like I need to read it under the right circumstances because every time I've sampled this book, I don't know why. You guys maybe can give me some reassurance in the comments. I feel like it's going to read a little bit dense, but other than that, I'm really excited. So we follow our main character, Elspeth, who quite literally has an ancient spirit inside her, who not only talks to her, keeps her company, but also protects her from all evil. But soon enough, things take a turn in her kingdom, and dark magic starts plaguing it all. On top of that, she finds a highwayman that's like very mysterious, and then she finds out that this highwayman is actually a royal and has got something to do with this dark magic ploy happening, and he's being prosecuted for high treason. And so it seems like the stakes are high. It seems to be very dynamic. We've got like an ancient evil demon deity situation going, which I love. And then the tarot card magic system, I've also heard that the romance in here is like really, really good, and that the overall world is absolutely phenomenal. And so based on all the things I've been hearing, I've also been told that I'm really going to enjoy this. I've got zero expectations, honestly, because it's a new to me author, but I feel like all of those elements combined, like, it sounds good. After the success of Delilah Green Doesn't Care, I had to include Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail in this one. Another sapphic romance. I really am looking forward to this because Delilah Green Doesn't Care really did it all. I'm always saying that I incidentally stumble upon the weirdest, most lack of chemistry, most bland sapphic romances. And I would even dare say, like, maybe there's a shortage of good sapphic books out there, but maybe it's just the ones that I have stumbled upon. And I don't know what it is about the ones that I pick out, but Delilah Green really did deliver on every single front. And I want Astrid Parker to be equally as good because Delilah was a 5-star. So we follow Delilah's sister in this one, Astrid Parker, who is a very type A person, super perfectionist to the point. She wants things done her way. And while she does have a lot of love to give, she is the type of person that comes across like very tough in the exterior before you kind of peel it away like an onion, and then you get to the center and like maybe it's a little bit good. I also love that one of the main characters, Astrid, is an interior designer, and then the love interest, Jordan, is a carpenter. And so the way that they meet is through a project that Astrid is offered. They're renovating a local inn, and there's apparently going to be some media coverage of it. And so she views that not only as an opportunity to distract herself from her breakup with her fiance in the past year, but also her mom's ongoing expectations and pressures to really succeed and go out there and achieve the absolute bestest that she possibly can. But as a good romance thus, she was not counting with the presence of Jordan, who is the inn's owner's granddaughter, and for them to strike this really huge rivalry because Jordan doesn't like any decision that Astrid makes when it comes to the interior design, but slowly but surely that tension dissolves into attraction, and I really want to read about that. And so I'm hoping that the author can really deliver as much as she delivered with book 1, because Delilah Green was just everything to me, and I need more books like that. So what better way than to maybe find another one through the same author? I am certain that Olivie Blake, with all of those immaculate vibes she has got going on, will deliver a 5-star for me. I can't remember what I rated the Atlas 6. I can't remember if it was a 4, a 4.5, or a 5-star. It definitely resides in that realm. I really enjoyed the Atlas 6, and I know I've heard that this book is even better than that one, and so I'm hoping that it is. And we have got 2 feuding families in this one. I believe the setup for this is very akin to Romeo and Juliet. I don't know if it's a straight up retelling, but I know for sure the book opens with a Romeo and Juliet quote, so maybe it might be a Shakespearean retelling. And so we follow the Antonova sisters and their mother, the Baba Yaga, who are huge suppliers of intoxicants, and then the rival feuding family, the Fedorov brothers, and their father, Koshi the Deathless, and they have reached some sort of like fraught stalemate for a few years now, but things start getting a whole lot more tense when one brother and one sister start getting really entangled to each other due to their ongoing attraction, and it really threatens the safety and the peace of both of these families. Very much sounds like star-crossed lovers, like Romeo and Juliet, so I can't wait to see what Olivie Blake is able to do with this one, because I feel like for the most part, every Shakespearean retelling that I have read in the Romeo and Juliet realm in the past 4 years have been really, really good. I think of These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, and I really, really loved that one. And so I'm hoping that this one will be really, really good. And I loved seeing that we still do have the illustrations at the beginning of every chapter, because I think this sets up the story so very nicely. I have also been informed that the audiobook narrator for this one is Steve West, who narrates Strange the Dreamer, and who I really, really loved the experience of listening to his voice. So maybe I'll even get the audiobook for this one. I think it could be fun. And that is it for today, friends. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up down below and let our girl know, what are some of your 5-star predictions? What are you anticipating as a 5-star for maybe the rest of the year or maybe the next few months? What have been some of your favorite 5 stars? I think that would be a very cool thing to know. Have you read any of the books that I mentioned in this video? Do you think I like them? Do you think there's like an impending warning that I should receive before I walk into them? Do let a girl know all of that down in the comments. If you reach the very end of the video, let us leave some like sea, ocean, like water emojis for our wives under the sea. I feel like that could be a cool emoji, and I don't feel like we've ever done that one. So let's leave that one in the comments if you reach the very end. Don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. And if you want more content from yours truly and to support the channel further, it's massive helps towards keeping everything afloat. I do have a Patreon. It's always linked down below in case you guys want to join it. There are constant sprints happening over there, a Discord server, 2 different book clubs, extra videos, early access, game nights, movie nights, behind the scene posts, and just a bunch of other things that you're not going to want to miss, because you're not going to see them really anywhere else. That is always linked down below alongside the rest of my socials. And yeah, I love you guys so, so much, and I will catch you on the next one.
Bye!